Ahead and call our meeting to order. And Dr. Howard, we will turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, thank y'all so much for being here and adapting to this new set of circumstances that we have found ourselves in. But I just want to start by saying thank you for being here. Miss Amanda has attached there the minutes for your review. So I think we'll have those approved on Monday. If you have any revisions, if you'll just let us know, we'll make those corrections. And then my comments are quite simple. Just a reminder that we will have Zoom as our format on Monday, and I'll send you the link. Monday will be primarily just celebrating some year-end accomplishments, including the retirement celebrations, as well as some young authors and several other not small, very important, but our Jackson Student Leadership Team. We have a 2-year cohort that's our seniors that we'll recognize, as well as our Rotary students. So May's going to be a great celebration in a different kind of manner, but we wanted to make sure that we didn't fail to acknowledge those outstanding graduates, as well as the servants who have served our students over the years as retirees. In terms of graduation updates, I want to start by just really commending the cooperation of this entire school district. It's hard to even be able to articulate how much folks have pulled together. There have been so many unique situations, and it doesn't seem to matter what we have asked, that folks have just pulled together and made it happen. And so everybody has really been nimble. And we this week celebrated our seniors with the delivery of signs and the graduation signs for all of our seniors. The great part about that was when I put out a sign-up sheet, we were trying to, and we did, honor social distancing and safety and so forth. We asked for elementary, middle, and high school teachers to board buses in each of our communities. And we had about 25 buses. They were stacked with elementary, middle, and high school teachers who drove around for about 2 hours, 3 hours on some routes, and delivered signs to every single graduating senior's yard. And lots of happy faces and bright surprises. And a thank you to Mr. Farmer for coordinating that, and to everyone who participated. So then how do we go forward? As you know, we had hoped to be able to graduate May 21st and 22nd, knew that was probably a bleak reality in these situations. So then we put out 2 alternate dates. Right now, the alternate date is June 12th for Jackson County High School and June 13th for East Jackson. And we told our community and the families that we would make that final decision by May the 18th. We were trying to give 2 weeks after the shelter in place was lifted to see how that was going to impact the spread and how safe we felt like it might be to have a traditional ceremony. We plan to announce it by May the 18th. Quite frankly, I think considering we're still in a state of emergency until June the 12th, we likely will have to move to the July 17 and 18 alternative dates. Our schools and our students and our school leaders really want to be able to have a traditional graduation, but we just can't commit to an exact date yet. So hopefully families understand our dilemma. If for some reason in June or July we are not able to have a graduation ceremony, then we will do a virtual graduation ceremony in July. So that's our plan right now. And again, I just want to commend our high schools for working really hard to not let this graduating class of 2020 go unnoticed. We've been really trying to celebrate them. Year-end plans, I've linked an FAQ slide deck there for you that we put out on our social media and sent to families. It basically just gives guidance on how to turn in your Chromebook and how to return your materials and when you can access your schools. And just for the board's information, as you might imagine, these are strange times, and we're trying very hard to honor all of the suggested, precautions, including masks and limiting distancing and so forth. One challenge that we've had, and it's no one's fault, but just the fact that it is the end of the year and folks are anxious about having access to the materials. So Josh and Ted made amends, and we are providing access for teachers for 45 minutes only a few teachers at a time. They're using exterior doors. We had I feel like an outstanding plan that was very safe. So today and tomorrow, teachers have been given access to their classrooms to go in and get additional materials so that they can close out the year. But outside of that, we're trying very hard to limit access to our buildings, because we know that this area, from most recent reports, says that we're not going to peak until the middle or end of June. So we still have to be very precautious. So hi, Ted. Did Ted join us? I've admitted him several times and he keeps getting kicked off.
He's having a hard time connecting, Dr. Howard.
I see him pop up and admit him, and then he goes away. So
we're texting in the background. He's in here 4 times, but maybe Mike can help see what's going on, unless he's just not logged on.
Okay, I just see him trying to get on. So thank you for helping. I'm probably the last person he would ask to help. Anyway, hopefully you'll have a chance to look at those year-end plans. Anybody that looked simply before today realized that I accidentally linked the Spanish version in there. So if you know Spanish fluently, you were able to review it before, but I've now since linked the English version for your review. So there you go. 2 more quick items. The BOE planning cycle calendar for next year. This is normally the time of the year where we go ahead and plan out the calendar. And so Amanda has linked that for your review. I'll go ahead and bring it up and we can briefly discuss it. I think it's going to be, oh yes, fantastic. Same format, so you know dates and times and meetings. And all of these are aligned similarly to this past year's calendar. The only suggestion or question that I have for the board, that I would ask the board is, might we want to consider, in light of the pandemic that's going on and the unpredictability of what may happen throughout this upcoming year, and the fact that Josh and his team have done an amazing job of finishing off the cafeteria and making that a beautiful meeting space at Gordon Street Center, would we want to consider having our board meetings for this upcoming year at Gordon Street, because there'll be plenty of room to accommodate, instead of rotating to schools? That is completely your decision. We've enjoyed it, and I do like going to the schools. The only challenge is that we may be changing our locations kind of frequently if we have a continuation of some of this. So we don't have to decide that today, but I thought that I would put it out there for your consideration. And if indeed you decide that you'd like for us to do those at the schools, then, at the central office, we can do them at Gordon Street, or we can go to the schools. Does anybody have any immediate thoughts on that?
So you're suggesting that we maybe don't go to the schools next year?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I sort of think that might be a good thing in light of the situation that we're in right now, for us to entertain that. I'm like you, I enjoy going to the schools.
I agree with you, Ms. Wheeler, especially because if we go ahead and set it now, sometimes the last minute changes, everyone is not, doesn't get that message. So
Yeah.
if they know now this is where the meeting is going to be, then people that want to come will know this is where it's going to be.
Yeah.
So
Does anybody else have any, want to share their feelings about this?
I'm fine. I'm fine going, finding one meeting place and staying there. But I'm not opposed, if this thing clears up, I'm not opposed to making a change, but that's my opinion. I like going to the schools. I think there's value in it, but also these are different times. So I think there would be some value in just sticking to one place.
Yeah.
So we can do this. We've got the dates established, and we can take this just like everything else, and let's monitor the next 4 to 6 weeks. And if we decide we want to put it at Gordon Street, we certainly can do that. We can just revise it then. Okay, it says, for everyone, Ted Gilbert has entered the waiting room. I'm going to admit him.
Okay.
Let's see if he's admitted. One other consideration for that's just for reflection. while it's only once a year, if we are having to change a lot of things, there's a lot of setup and a lot of preparation involved for the schools. And considering some of the things we're going to talk about in a little bit from a budget perspective, anything that we can do to ease the processes next year is probably something to be considered as well. So we can decide next month. And then the last item that I have, and I'll turn it over to facilities and operation, is that if you wouldn't mind, we'd like for you to pencil in the 21st as a call board meeting, and we can do it whenever your schedules allow, morning, midday, afternoon, evening, just for the Empower GMP. And of course, we'll send you all of that information ahead of time. And we may have some personnel recommendations that we'd like to bring you at that time. So if you could pencil that in, that would be great.
Okay.
And that's all that I have, other than to say, considering this has been such an interesting close to the school year, our schools, our students, our teachers, you might have to mute Mike, have done an absolutely amazing job and continue to just pull rabbits out of their hat to keep kids engaged. And I think this last few weeks, we're really starting to see them personalize it, and some kids are going to start finishing up their new work, and it should be a pretty smooth close to the year. So very, very grateful for everything that everyone has done. I don't know that I would say that it was flawless completely, but I don't know that it could have gone much better. It has gone exceptionally well. We were technologically prepared, we were instructionally prepared, and we've really tried to respond to the needs of our schools. So that just speaks to the leadership at our schools and our teaching and learning department and the operations team and technology across the board. So a thank you to everyone. It just wouldn't have happened without a great team. So we'll keep rocking on through May 22nd and go from there. So Mr. Patton and Mr. Gilbert. Mr. Gilbert, are you really here?
I'll see him anymore.
Finally made it, yeah.
I swear I was admitting you. I promise.
I know you were. I don't know what was that. I rebooted everything and Mike Summer helped me out. So
okay. Well, glad you're here. I don't know if you or Josh are going to speak first, but I'll go through the projects update.
Josh, you want to do it or you want me to? I'll be glad to.
No, I can.
Okay.
I'm not going to go through it line by line. I will speak to every one of them. The new high school is going very well. Everything's still on schedule. Right now, we're this week we're concentrating on curb and asphalt, trying to get the parking lots finished outside. But inside, we're painting already in some locations. So everything over there is going very well. The football field actually will finish up. Looks like Saturday. The football field will be done. It looks great. So we have done a few tours. So if anybody wants to go see that, when your time allows, just reach out and I'll set that up for us. East Middle, of course, we got the bids in. Y'all approved everything. Carol Daniel located on site yesterday. We're starting demo. Still waiting on some submittals and procurement dates to get a really good schedule, but the outside site work is set to start in the next week. Gym air conditioning projects are ahead of schedule. East Elementary, we're kind of targeted that one first, but the ductwork's finished. We're really just waiting on equipment for East Elementary, and now we're at West Elementary putting ductwork in there. So those are going very well. Ted, I don't know if you want to speak to Empower or.
Yeah, I'll be glad to. We the Empower project bid process is underway now, with bids due May 13th, next Wednesday, I believe it is. So the team's been waiting on that. That'll be the D-wing modifications, which is the kitchen, cafeteria, and the what's known as the old gym. It will include two great labs, one engineering lab and the other is logistics, as well as a nurse's aid laboratory and health sciences. So it will really be a great wing Once the bids are in, we will bring a GMP, guaranteed maximum price, to the board for approval. And we also begin next Tuesday working on the follow-up work in phase 1, which includes ag science, construction, welding, entrepreneurship, and maybe a couple of others, the fine arts or film program. So all of that's moving along extremely well right now. We're just waiting for that next the bids to come in next week. Beyond that, those are all of our projects right now. You'll find in the projects report a lot of good photos that Josh and others have been taking of the project, and it's got site work, building progress in it. It's really good. And then at the last 2 pages will be the financial reports, one on the high school, and the other included that is now underway is the air conditioning project. So your budgets, your costs, your pay applications, et cetera, are included in those. And sure, either one of us will be glad to answer any questions if you have them.
Yep.
Sounds good. We're moving ahead with all this. I'm so glad that has not been interrupted. That's great.
The last month, hats off to Josh and all of the team members. They've been doing a great job over there in this last month. It was nice to get some dry weather.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? If not, I'll move on to the lease amendments.
Ted, before you move on, I'm scrolling through. I was just going to say that is the auditorium. So that's the seating for the auditorium.
Correct.
And that, I believe, is the gym.
It is.
Yep. And so just, you can see that's block, and this piece here is the auxiliary gym. Correct?
And actually today it's about 3/4 of the steel is up on it now. So
I saw that. It looks pretty darn good. These are the end caps and on the wings. So that's what actually faces Skelton Road. And these are going to be very nice exterior patio areas for students. So, and then there you can see the brick color, and that's primarily the administrative offices.
It is, and the windows are in as well.
It's great.
yeah.
So it's really taking shape, and thank you to Josh for taking the administrative team from Jackson County over there about a week ago. And I think they got really excited once they were able to see the reality of of this coming together. So it's going very well. And you have this month, as Mr. Gilbert said, you've got the monthly report in there, and those are the last 2 pages. So
Correct.
all right.
It's exciting work right now. It's going to be a great rest of the year as we keep moving.
It is.
The next items are lease agreement modifications, and we brought 3 of those to you. I'll speak to each one of them very briefly. One is the Northeast Church that has rented a portion of the West Jackson Primary School for storage once they left their old facility and are awaiting their new one. We offered them or responded to them with as we told you before, a 90-day waiver of the rent structure. And I think that reflects probably the market better than market today. I think the market's probably way down. And then also they reduced their use of the space by 50%. So we, of course, got their rent in half as well. So that's the Northeast lease modification agreement. It's worked out extremely well for them and for us. The next one is the bakery that's been there for quite some time now. And as with many businesses, these are tough days and have been for a while for that business. So what we've was requested and what we have brought to you is to extend the same rental rate. They actually expire this fall, and so we'll need to renegotiate with them, but to extend the same rental rate through the end of the term, and also to do the same 90-day waiver to give them a break. One of the great things about that lease from our standpoint is the utilities for the building are completely covered, so there's no cost to us, and that's in the $2,000 to $2,500 a month range. And then the last one, and it may be that Dr. Howard wants to speak to this more, it's the Southside Church modification.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to. Because this was not just a lease, this is a lease purchase agreement. I worked through Corey to have an amendment to the lease done. And so with your approval, we would date this after your action, and we would, file it with Corey so that we keep this legal and bound. But it does allow Southside Church May through October as a grace extension, so that they would resume payment in November, and they would accrue that and pay at the end of the final payout. So it doesn't change any amount that we collect. It just provides a grace period for them in light of the COVID epidemic. So you can read through that. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to call. And I'm happy to do the best I can to answer. But they have been very, very good stewards and paid very regularly. And when this first happened, Pastor Jeff Williams reached out immediately and said, we'd like to request. And so I've attached the letter from Jeff Williams and from the Southside Church Board requesting this option. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't make sure that you were aware that Southside Church provides the nutrition on weekends bags for all of our children in need at South Jackson Elementary School, and do many other things. So this is your decision, but it's to me a great partnership, and we benefit in many, many ways from Southside Church. So that's for your consideration, and that would be an action item for Monday if you so approve.
Okay.
All right.
The next item that I would go to, if there's no other questions on those amendments, is just a very quick update on the insurance process that we're going through right now. We do it every year. The property and vehicle liability application was submitted in mid-April, and we expect premium quotes on that the second or third week of May, and we'll bring that to the June board meeting for your approval. I don't have any, at this point, any thoughts of what that might be. We obviously are in a pretty crazy time with insurance, but I don't anticipate any big changes. We also met as a team with our workers' comp insurance carrier and talked about our past years, this workers' comp losses. We went through all of those in each case. We looked at the loss ratio, which has gone up just a little bit, and the experience mod, which has also gone up just a little bit. It's amazing sometimes what one or two accidents can result in. We have, Ms. Dodge provided the payroll adjustments for them, so they have the most current numbers, and we expect a premium quote in late May. They are marketing that to not only our current carrier, but also others as well that are in the market. So again, next month, we will have more information for you. And last in the facilities area is the intergovernmental agreement, the same one that was provided to you before, which is essentially puts together the marching orders, so to speak, for Jackson County, particularly the rec department and the school district, and says and lays out what both of our responsibilities are, and really says in a nutshell, we're to communicate very, very closely, and they're to participate with us in funding some of the cost. So it's appropriate that we have it, and I think we've talked about it a couple of times in the past, and that's on the docket for your approval as well. Dr. Howard, you may want to add to that.
No, I think we all agree. I apologize. I thought it was attached to the back. So I know it's attached to the board meeting on Monday. So I'll attach it in here as well. It basically coordinates efforts, and the Board of Commissioners will pay the Jackson County School Board $40,000 a year to be reviewed annually, the amount and the usage, so that we can offset the operational cost of our particular facility. So I think this is a great start, and appreciate the time. And I have to tell you that in the same vein, I'm just really, really glad that March the 6th was able to happen, because that's when that kind of got finalized, when we had the Board of Commissioners in our retreat. So we got that finished just in the nick of time. So yeah. So those will all be.
I just was going to say, I apologize for being late tonight. it happens sometimes with this, the new world we're living in.
Yes, it does. I'll tell the board that I was panicked about 5:25 because I couldn't get in assembly, and so Mike had to come over and play with my computer and clean the cookies. He didn't clear my so I finally got in. So you're right. You bank on it, and when everything's dependent on it, it's a little nerve-wracking. But thank you, Ted, and we'll have those items for approval on Monday night's agenda as action items. So I will. Let Anna, you've been able to share all kinds of good news for the past few years, and we've celebrated. And while we're still celebrating, the trajectory is changing just a little bit. So I'll let you give some updates here.
Yeah, it's changing just a little bit. It's a little, like everybody has noted, a little bit of an interesting unknown time, hard to plan, hard to estimate, hard to guess. Every time you think you might have something close, then it changes again and they tell you something different. But the first thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is that the state did send us the amount that we will be getting through the CARES Act. And that amount's going to be a little bit over $1,029,000. So luckily we have that, and that will definitely be something that we can use, one, to help food nutrition with some of their lost revenue during this time, because of course they've been preparing meals, but kids have not been paying for meals. And even though they get to claim the meals that they have distributed, that is very, I mean, that's a drop in the bucket compared to the money that they also receive from the paid meals. So we'll use a little bit. We've set a little bit aside for that, and then of course the rest of it we've set aside to help close any gap that we might have based on state funding reductions that we still don't know the amount yet. So, but luckily, celebration, jump up and down, hooray! We have built our fund balance to an amazing place, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that in just a second. But SPLOST, shockingly, was really good this month. A little over $676,000, and it was up over every measure, month over month, year over year. The only measure that it had decreased or was less is the average. And the average is now getting extremely close to $700,000, which is nice. So granted, it was March sales that we got the deposit for, but hopefully it's not going to be quite as bad of a hit as what we were expecting, especially since the governor's allowed a lot of businesses to start opening back up at the beginning of this month. April might be down some, but hopefully that will be the only month that we see any kind of significant decrease in SPLOST. And then if we want to look at the financials, then you'll see that everything is right in line. I mean, we have collected well over the 83% where we are at this point in the year. We're at 90% revenue collections, and we're still running about 1% less in expenditures. And again, that is creating a situation where our fund balance is maintaining and actually growing a little bit. And I don't hope, but I'm projecting we easily end the end of the year at 17 million plus. So that's going to be a gift when we start looking at possible state funding reductions for next year. I mean, that's going to put us definitely in a much better place than a lot of other people are.
Yeah, that's good. I'm tickled with that. That's really good.
Wonderful.
I had heard a guy that works for us at the farm, his wife has been at Franklin County, and she's going to Hart County, and Hart County told her last week they didn't know if she'd have a job or not. They couldn't guarantee her anything, and she had already been interviewed and accepted the job. So, we're pretty fortunate to what some of these more rural counties are going to go through.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And then the last report, of course, is just the fund balance comparison. And again, you can see that we're well above where we were at this time last year. And again, with the amount that we've been using in fund balance each month, it'll easily put us at 17 million or more.
So while the news is not great on the national and state level, and it is terribly unfortunate because this is going to go on for quite some time. I think we all understand that. Generally speaking, thank goodness that we've made the efforts and the progress we've had, because we're a little bit more prepared to respond this time than we were last time. So
absolutely.
Much more.
Yeah. So Anna, you want to speak? You and or Dr. Blankenship want to speak to the AIG resolution and progress there?
Yes. So as you guys are aware, we a couple of months ago bid out our supplemental retirement plan and then brought to you our recommendation to move forward with AIG as the vendor that services that. And this resolution, and of course y'all approved that recommendation. And so this resolution is basically just stating who in the district has the authority to make decisions and sign for any activities or transactions that occur within the plan. And so as you can see there, Dr. Howard, Dr. Blankenship, and myself are the three individuals in the system that are listed. And so on Monday night, as long as everyone's good with this, then we will just need your approval so that we can send this to AIG for them to put into our records of who can act on the plan.
All right, they've been great to work with. They have a very efficient transition plan, and we did, just out of professional courtesy, and so that you know this, we've been with Lincoln for quite some time, and we had a courtesy call with them yesterday to give them some feedback on how we made this decision through an RFP and a committee, but quite frankly, the pricing and the basis points is going to be very beneficial for our staff members, and that's why we did it. So that's exciting to be able to offer that to our staff members. So, all right, Dr. Blankenship.
There you go. I said it's good to virtually see everyone. We'll talk about personnel recommendations and considerations in a few minutes when we go to executive session. But I did want to give you an update on the partial unemployment claims that we have filed for some of our employees. We initially started out filing for our after-school employees who only work for Jackson County through after school. When we received further guidance, as you know, this whole situation is evolving every day, and it seems like almost on a daily basis we get new guidance or revision to guidance. And so we are trying to be as flexible as we can and respond to that as soon as we get it, and do the best we can for our employees. So as you know, we're still paying everyone's base pay, but we do have certain employees who earn additional, who have the opportunity to work additional hours, and they are missing that extra compensation. And so once we received guidance that we could apply for partial unemployment for those individuals based on reduced hours, we did so. And so for the past couple of weeks, we have been filing for about 238 employees. And so that I want to thank Anna and her team for helping us gather the information needed to make those filings, and our employees have begun to receive that there's still some employees that are waiting, and that's of course I don't have an explanation for that. It's something that it's just a processing matter on the Department of Labor side of things, but I'm encouraging them to reach out to the Department of Labor with any questions that they have regarding any amounts, any delays, or anything like that. And so far, it seems to be going pretty smoothly, and they have been very appreciative that we have taken on that responsibility of doing that filing for them. So one other item that we've implemented for our employees to try to provide them with up-to-date information and also with some supports is we've developed a new newsletter that we're calling HR Insights. And so our team gathers information and puts this out right now bi-weekly. Once we are back to hopefully a more normal schedule, we'll probably move to a monthly version of this, but right now it's bi-weekly. And so you all should be able to click that link and browse through the newsletter. It gives information on health and wellness, on financial planning, and just anything that is benefits related or employee morale, wellness related that would help them during this time. We've included stress reduction tips and how to manage working from home and having children there, just all different kinds of information that we think that they might find helpful. So that's there for you to take a look at. And then we do have the enrollment for April linked in, and you can see it is exactly what it was back in August. Some of the schools may have changed slightly, but our overall enrollment is at 8359. So it's going to be interesting to see what our enrollment looks like in August as we move forward in terms of if we continue to see growth, if we have individuals who choose to or have to move, relocate based on work situations. But it's going to be it'll be an interesting summer for sure. The next item is our new employee launch pad. They say necessity is the mother of invention, but sometimes when you are proactive, you have developed something that you can then use to meet needs. And our HR team had begun to think about how we could front load some of our new employee onboarding for those new hires so that when they come to, it's a lot of information that employees receive when they come on board. So it's a little bit like drinking from a fire hose, and we wanted to try to provide them as much information as we could up front to help reduce some of the questions that they have and that feeling of being overwhelmed with information. So we had already begun to work on that. And once we realized we would probably not be able to hold in-person onboarding sessions this summer, we said, well, let's just take it completely virtual. And so Michelle Bowen, Megan Perry, and Kat Flippin were the primary team. Of course, all of our HR team and payroll worked on this together and contributed, but they really spearheaded this project. And it is some of the best work that I think I have ever seen in terms of employee onboarding. All the information that the employees need is right here on this site. And the beauty of it is that any of our employees will be able to access this. Right now, the site is sent out to new employees with their new hire information. But we will have a link on our staff portal, so employees can go back if they need to refresh their memory about some of this information. They can go back here and access it as well. This site also, you can see on the left-hand side, it also has a link for new teacher orientation, which are the virtual, it's going to be held virtually this summer, but those are the professional learning sessions that Teaching and Learning hold throughout the summer to orient our teachers to the different content areas and really our Jackson County way of doing things, and technology as well. There's also a page for, there are just some essential tools there in terms of technology and that sort of thing. Induction. So all of our brand new teachers will have information related to induction here. If they need technical support, there's a tab that they can go to find the tech for their school. And then all of the HR contacts are listed on a page. And then to monitor their completion of the onboarding process, there is a completion checklist. And this is a really nice feature that allows them to actually enter questions that they have. Those questions are routed to our HR team as appropriate, and then they're able to answer those questions back to the new hire who asked the question. It'll also help us gather information for a frequently asked questions section that we'll add on in the future. So we're really excited about this. We've already had some new employees that had been board approved go through and begin to complete this process, and it's very exciting. So I appreciate you allowing me to share that with you.
I want to say a special thank you to that team as well. That they pulled, again, you just get, I hope, a taste of how quickly our staffs have responded. We've talked for many years about you never get a second chance at a first impression. And we know when folks come here and we can greet them and welcome them, hopefully they have a great first impression because we embrace them. But it's hard when you don't get to meet people face to face. So we wanted something digitally that would make people feel welcomed and send a message that we're prepared and looking forward to having them. So that is a fantastic tool, and I thank Dr. Blankenship for her leadership in making that happen. So one piece before I turn it over to Mr. Nicholson for a couple of updates. Normally in May or June, we would approve our salary schedule and we would approve our supplements. As you may know, as Anna said, everything is in flux now. So we'll talk during executive session about some personnel concerns that are being impacted potentially by the budget. As you know, the governor called for a 14% cut, and that means we don't know right now what our allotment sheet is. So it's very difficult. So the budget that Anna worked so hard on in January and February and presented to you as a preliminary budget the first week of March is now completely pretty much null and void, because the expectation is that the $1,000 recommended salary increase for certified staff is going to not be included. The 5% for classified staff is not going to be included. And there's the possibility that the governor could choose to just reduce days for teachers, which would have a line item reduction. So it's very difficult for us right now to know what the salary schedule will need to look like for your approval. And the supplements that you approve for athletic changes, those are still in the budget right now, and they're still on our supplement list, but we'll just want to wait and evaluate and ask you to approve those when we have more information. And an excellent question was asked about what about coaches? And so the way coaches are compensated is through a supplement that's added to their salary, and that's a part of their contract when they start at the beginning of each year. So we have folks who their salary, in other words, their supplement is spread across the whole year. It's not by season. They don't get a bulk upon completion of service. So the folks who's had seasons that ended early, unfortunately, they're still receiving their regular salary that they would have. We've not deducted what would have been their supplement from their earnings, so that they continue to collect that.
And Dr. Howard, I could mention one more
Sure.
item.
Sure.
We celebrated School Nurses Appreciation Day this week on Wednesday, and honored all of our school nurses as well as our clinic aides at each of the schools. We provided them with plants as a small thank you to the work that they do each day in our schools. So just wanted to make you aware that it was School Nurse Appreciation Week.
And school nutrition. Yep.
And school nutrition, yes.
Yep. And they are still working hard. I'm sure you know that, but if you drive by East Jackson Elementary School, you will see Dr. Morris there before the sun gets up. 2 days a week, Mr. Easler is there supporting through logistics in the front. And we are still turning out a lot of food for our students and families.
And it's Teacher Appreciation Week this week.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. It's been a busy one.
Appreciating everyone.
Everything. Yep. All right. So, Mr. Nicholson.
Absolutely. And I was going to mention that our teachers have done a remarkable job during the entire COVID closure and adapting to strange and uncertain times and developing new skill sets. And I'm incredibly grateful for the work that they've done and their willingness to just rise up and find challenges to problems we never even knew that we would encounter. Something that's not on the agenda that I'd also like to celebrate real quickly is that I don't think we shared this, but through technology, we were able to place 29 MiFis and then Jackson EMC sponsored 3 smart buses. And we have so many of these conversations. I don't remember us talking about this last month, but I just wanted to give the board an update that we've substantially increased connectivity through the MiFis and the smart buses with internet. It's a cell-based internet connectivity, so that families that we gave Chromebooks to but still couldn't access the internet, they could do so. And so I want to publicly thank Jackson EMC as well as the board for supporting that. And then we also use some Title I funds, which is quite fantastic that we're able to do that to kind of equalize to a certain extent the equity gap. We only have 2 items for teaching and learning. One of those is we've talked several times about Remind, and that is the communication platform, which is a text-based platform that we had already planned on rolling out this spring. Just wanted you to know that we have continued to move forward with that. There's just a whole plethora of advantages to that. There's a 80 language translation. It only sends 1 message per family, so it cuts down on the number of messages that you get if you've got a child in an elementary, middle, and high school, and you just need to send 1 message to the family. It connects completely 100% to our Canvas, our LMS. It is also now connects to Google Meet, which our teachers and leaders are very familiar with. So our plan is to fully implement that in July 1, but we've started to do some professional learning. But the nice thing about that is whether you are an elementary student, whether you're on the west side, the east side, whether you speak Spanish or English, we have one common consistent platform that we can send communications to all families. And in today's day and age, people don't answer the phones, but they do look at their texts. And the nice thing about Remind is it is text-based. And the other component about it is it's 100% driven by Infinite Campus. So the rostering that we have in Infinite Campus, as long as all that is correct, which it's usually highly accurate, then what we can do is we can even send, in the case of as needed, urgent messaging to our families. So just in case you got questions about that or wondered, we are moving forward with that as we talked in previous meetings, but it'll really cut down on the number of platforms that parents and students and families have to manage to get up-to-date information. And connected to that is we will still use our social media. We will still post things. We'll post celebrations, but it's difficult. We're missing a large subgroup of our community when we only rely on social media, because not everybody has a Facebook or a Twitter account. So this allows people, they don't have to have any personal information out there in an account. They can get the information directly. So that also makes sure that we can communicate quickly and efficiently and effectively. The other item is that in these strange and uncertain times, we are, as we've talked about, recognizing teachers and nurses and food service and other folks. we do have our student recognitions, and we would like to recognize our young Georgia authors Monday night. We will do that in a virtual platform. I won't give too many of the details. Very excited about the work that Amy Godfrey and Jill Weldon and some other folks have put forth to allow us to continue to celebrate our young Georgia authors. But what is not a surprise is much like we did for the seniors in terms of putting signs in the yards, our young Georgia authors also were greeted with a sign in their yard celebrating their accomplishment. So many of them will be tuned in on Monday, and we will showcase them in a virtual format. And then Amanda and Dr. Howard, I know that we were just at the end of our meeting prior to this talking about Rotary students, and I believe our plan is to recognize them, but I haven't confirmed we are going to be able to do that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we'll still be able to do that in a virtual platform. And, that's what we're here for, to celebrate our students and to celebrate the teaching and learning that continues to take place. So that's it for teaching and learning this evening.
All right. Well, while we've not been any of us been face to face all together, the work still continues, just like I know it does in your world. I know all of you are still attending to your responsibilities in your lives. So thank you for taking time to spend with us. We do need to have an executive session, and I will tell you the executive session is for a personnel conversation. And I would like for us, Zoom has the capability of room management, but we don't have that upgraded feature. So we're going to explore that eventually, but we don't have it on here. So I'd like for you, if you would please, to close out of Zoom. I'm going to leave Zoom open and mute it so that we can go back to it afterwards, because I'm the manager of this meeting. But if you will please make sure that you go out completely, just close out of Zoom and then click on the link for Google Meets. And if you have any trouble, I have my phone right here. I'll be happy to call you or navigate, but it should be pretty easy. So we're going to close out of Zoom and go straight into executive session through Google Meets, and then we'll come back and close this out. And I'll text Todd and team to let you know when we're coming back, okay?
So we just go on mine, it says leave meeting. So I'll just do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Leave
Yes,
meeting.
ma'am. Just leave the meeting.